Throughout most of my adolescence and adulthood, many people called me, or at least thought, even if they didn't say it out loud, paranoid. However, I considered myself a skeptic rather than paranoid, and I believed that skepticism was a useful quality, so I did not want to change anything. However, because of my suspicious behavior, I lost a relationship and my first marriage, so I decided to change. I turned to a counselor who helped me deal with the outward manifestations of my skepticism, and now I can almost always hide my feelings of mistrust, doubt, or cynicism. My second husband, Alex, also helped me with this. Although I loved math in high school and computer science in college, I was persistently steered toward a typically feminine academic path. However, I rebelled and achieved a degree in business, and then took several master's courses in marketing research. I slowly worked my way up the career ladder for several years until the opportunity arose for Alex and I to move to another state. Alex returned from his 10-year high school reunion excited about the prospects for work and play in his home state and encouraged me to move if we both found good jobs there. Alex had many contacts in his new state, including a former classmate named Jenny Krieg. Jenny Krieg is the CEO of a fairly large company, Multiplex Services, Inc., which she founded with a university friend. Her business is now thriving, probably turning over $1 billion a year. My job as an analyst at Multiplex, paid almost twice as much as my previous job, was more interesting, and the company provided excellent facilities for the daycare center where we took our two little twins, Jack and Jill. Thanks to a significant increase in salary and the fact that Alex had taken a job through another school with a salary slightly higher than his previous one and with good prospects for growth, the move was a foregone conclusion. We bought a beautiful house with a maximum but feasible mortgage. However, 9 months into my new job, I had two main reasons to question the wisdom of my decision to accept Alex's friend's offer. The first was that we often had to obligatorily attend social events with Jenny and her weak-willed husband Byron, and at these events Alex and Jenny acted like bosom friends. The second was that a co-worker of mine named Evan, with whom I regularly collaborated at roughly equal levels of the corporate hierarchy, turned out to be difficult to communicate with, although not malicious or sexually harassing. He was a typical handsome guy who made his mark more on his appearance than on his abilities. He was aloof, arrogant, although perhaps unintentionally, and did not give his best at work. He also seemed to be Jenny's favorite, which made it difficult for me to complain about him to her, especially since he didn't exhibit any overtly outrageous behavior. At this time, my skepticism and paranoia were not particularly noticeable, and I tried my best to suppress any outward manifestations of them. However, something made me feel a strong sense of mistrust. Jenny called me and Evan into her office with a proposal that sounded more like an order, although she tried to present it as a request. "Melissa," she began, turning to me, "and Evan, I have a new idea that I want to explore. This will require maximum effort, and you two are the best people for this task, especially since you are good at keeping secrets. To make sure this is done correctly and confidently, I want the two of you to go to a cabin in the woods with a propane generator and satellite internet for 10 days and prepare a full report on this project so that we can begin implementing the new service right away." Jenny," I began, trying to contain my surprise and not show how outraged I was by her proposal. "I have two small children and a husband. I can't just leave them in the middle of winter and go to some cabin in the woods. Why can't we do the project here?" "For two reasons," Jenny replied sternly. "Firstly, this project must be a secret to everyone in the company. Only you two, our crew, and I will know about it. I don't even want information about it to get into our internal network. If a data leak suddenly happens, I didn't even enter the details of the project into either my work or personal computer. I will provide each of you with a new secure laptop for working while traveling." This might seem logical to most people, but my skepticism began to approach a healthy border, and my bullshit detector was off the charts because our office had secure, isolated areas for handling confidential information. "And secondly," Jenny continued, "I don't think a project can be completed in the time frame and quality required if you have distractions. Therefore, I limit you to one call home per day for no more than 20 minutes. By that time, it seemed like there was steam coming out of my ears. I'm not sure I'm suited for this task, I replied, trying my best not to growl, and perhaps I succeeded. I'm in, Evan replied casually. Of course he agreed he had no family, no worries, and was a classic suck-up. Evan, leave Melissa and me alone, Jenny asked with a saccharine smile. After Eve left the office, Jenny continued in a more serious, although not entirely hostile, tone. Melissa, this is critical. It is for such cases that I hired you and paid you a lot of money. Moreover, if you succeed, the bonus will be $25,000. I know that most of the work will fall on you because although Evan is very capable, you are our superstar. I'm not convinced, Jenny, I replied, holding back a growl again. Jenny looked annoyed, but quickly pulled herself together, put on her sweet smile again, and said, Talk to Alex. If he agrees, maybe we can work something out. But I need your decision by Thursday, and at that time it was already Tuesday. Because we will have to fly out first class, of course, on Friday. With these words, she almost mockingly took out 2 plane tickets from her desk drawer. I asked her to tell me about the project. She opened a safe with a combination lock and key and handed me a single piece of paper, handwritten, with the heading Ultra Promo. Handing me the document, Jenny said, Read this right here and return it to me. He must not leave this office. I studied the document. In fact, the idea was great and surprisingly overlapped with a project I was doing as part of one of my market research courses. I read it, handed it back to Jenny and said, I'll talk to Alex tonight, and then walked out. Despite the apparent legitimacy of the project, I left with the feeling that, to paraphrase the great Shakespeare, something is rotting in the state of multiplex. I came home early, played with the kids until Alex returned, and then ordered takeout. After dinner, spending some more time with the 3-year-old twins, Alex read a bedtime story to Jill, and I read a bedtime story to Jack. After that, I called Alex into the office. Alex, something happened at work that may force me to quit, I began. I wanted to immediately show how serious the situation is. It can't be that bad, right? He asked, swallowing. Well, listen, I said, and explained the whole situation to him in detail. His reaction was alarming and caused my level of skepticism to go almost into overdrive. His questions revealed that he knew much more about the situation than I had told him, which clearly meant he was talking to Jenny, and he was delighted with her offer. Darling, we will survive 10 days, especially if my mother comes to help me, and $25,000 definitely won't hurt us, and we can't afford for you to lose such an amazing and interesting job. Now the multiplex state smelled not just of rot, it was like a rotting corpse. I was filled with anxiety, but to hide my disbelief, I gave in completely to sex with Alex that night, including pleasuring him. I woke up in the middle of the night, sat down at the computer, and wrote up a contract for Jenny. In the contract, I described the exact parameters of the project, bonus levels, and the use of an independent expert to evaluate the quality of the work, so that Jenny could not minimize the value of my work after it was completed. I was careful not to mention the details of the idea so Jenny wouldn't explode due to her own paranoia about secrecy. After finishing the contract, I again felt like I needed to let off steam in order to fall asleep. I again pleased Alex, got him excited, and then had sex with him quietly so as not to wake the children, but with loud thoughts. The next morning Alex was in a great mood. What was that, sex goddess? He whispered in my ear as he kneaded my buttocks while I made breakfast for the kids. Are you complaining? I grinned. No way, he laughed. Then don't look a gift horse in the mouth, I answered, calling the children to the table. I burst into Jenny's office on Wednesday morning. Jenny, I was thinking about your proposal. Here's my counter option. I'm willing to make some changes, but not many. If you don't agree, and if I can't postpone the trip until Saturday, I won't take part. If you fire me because of this, you will have to give me 1 month's notice and pay me severance pay in accordance with my employment contract. Jenny's jaw dropped as she held my 3-page contract. I heard her mutter something like, wait, But, as I walked out of the room, but I didn't pay attention. My bullshit detector wasn't just going off the charts, it was flashing all sorts of lights and blaring sirens as I waited for Jenny to respond. Meanwhile, in the morning, Evan managed to drench me in drool, telling me how much he wanted me to agree with an artificially sweet smile and for the first time in all the time of our communication with sexual overtones. Around noon, Jenny called me into her office. "It's a strange contract, Melissa, but I think it's important that you lead the project. A new business can become our most profitable business, so if you accept the changes suggested by the legal department, we can move forward." I looked at the edits and added paragraphs from the legal department and Jenny herself. Of the 8 proposed changes, 7 were minor. She lowered the maximum possible bonus from $100,000 to $80,000, but left the time bomb in my contract intact, so I agreed. I handed her the flash drive with the document. She made the changes on her computer, printed 2 copies, which we signed and numbered on each page. Then she put one original in the safe and returned the second, along with the flash drive, to me. "Please destroy the flash drive after you delete the remaining documents from it," she said with a smile. "Definitely," I answered. "I take the weekend until Saturday morning because I have a lot to prepare. I'll be popping in to finish other projects. And please prepare all the data you have on the project in documentary form. I'll pick them up on Friday at noon." "Great," she replied, hugging me. I answered her with an indifferent hug. I didn't lie when I said I had a lot to do. However, most of them did not concern Jenny, Alex, or Evan. The first thing I did was visit a tattoo artist to get a small dolphin tattoo on the inside of my left breast. I have large breasts, so there was plenty of room. I took a photo with the tattoo artist and the private detective I hired. I put the photo in an envelope and sent it to my lawyer with instructions not to open it until I ordered. I also purchased a flesh-colored sticker signed by a tattoo artist to cover up the rose tattooed on my right buttock. With the sticker, I followed the same procedure of photographing and sending. That night, I exhausted Alex in bed, making sure the lights were off so he wouldn't notice the new tattoo or sticker. When he fell asleep, I put on a flannel nightie and stole his phone. The next morning, Alex was grateful for a wonderful evening, but upset that he couldn't find his phone. He even tried calling him from my phone, but to no avail. "I'm at home all day today, honey," I said. "I'll search the whole house. Why don't you take my car to work, and I'll scratch yours?" "Thank you, dear Melissa," he replied with a half smile, leaving for work. I took Alex's smartphone to the best electronics specialist in town, who installed a GPS locator and a call recording system. He also set up my new computer so that I could remotely disable programs that Jenny had secretly installed. When Alex returned home, I happily gave him the phone. He was under the bed. "I must have loved you so hard that my phone fell off the nightstand," I chuckled. "Why didn't he call when I dialed him?" he asked after hugs and kisses. "The battery is dead. I replaced it for you. Try it," I suggested. Of course, I've known his password for years. Alex immediately called Jenny. I could only grin almost diabolically. My stomach twisted with anger, but I restrained myself. On Friday, I hired a professional to install hidden HD cameras in our bedroom and guest room. In addition, my veterinarian friend helped me get syringes with a tranquilizer and an ampoule with an antidote. Finally, I climbed into the attic and found Alex's old university albums, in which I studied photographs of him with Jenny. On Saturday morning, Alex and the kids took me to the airport. I couldn't resist kissing Jack and Jill before I left. My soul was restless. I knew that within 10 days, either my mind would turn out to be brilliant or I would have to be treated for paranoia. Evan had arrived at the cabin, and it really was a cabin the day before, on Friday. It was 25 miles from the small airport where I arrived by helicopter. From there, I got to the house on a snowmobile with a guide, who left immediately after dropping me off. When I entered, there was already a fire in the fireplace, and the generator was running. I wish I could say I was surprised shocked even to see only one double bed, but I wasn't. "Where is your bed?" I barked, looking around. We can sleep together. I won't pester you, Evan said with a serious look. Yes, he actually said it. That won't happen, I snapped. I need a bed just as much as you, he replied. I started looking around the house. Fortunately, there was a bathroom with running water thanks to a propane generator, as well as 2 closets and a tiny room separated by doors from the main room. The kitchen had a large refrigerator stocked with food and drinks and a stove. In the corner, I noticed a large desk with 2 internet connections and power outlets. "What are you looking for?" Evan asked, following me. At that moment, I found what I was looking for: a cot with sheets and a blanket in a large closet. "This," I said, setting it up. "The first 4 nights you sleep on the bed, I sleep on the folding bed." For the next 5 nights we changed. "Okay, but it's warmer in one bed," he answered with a grin. "I promise, no nonsense." "Of course," I muttered under my breath. Surprisingly, working in the house was not difficult. Despite the fact that Evan was clearly trying to charm me and was not particularly helpful in the project, the work progressed successfully. It was more difficult to experience separation from children. Telephone conversations for 20 minutes every evening did not at all quench the melancholy. When Evan left the house for a walk, for firewood, or just to wander around, and sometimes when he was inside but not paying attention to me, I would connect to Alex's phone and the cameras in the house. On the 3rd day, my doubts were confirmed. I activated the camera in the bedroom and saw what I was afraid of. The recording was immediately sent to my computer. Evan had just returned inside and noticed the tears on my face. "What's happened?" he asked with genuine concern. "I miss the kids so much," I moaned. Evan came over to console me. Looking at him, so attractive, I thought for a moment whether to succumb to temptation, but I restrained myself, although I did not push him away rudely. However, there was something else that bothered me. Evan was getting drunk every night. He had several bottles of bourbon with him, as well as white and red wine and beer. He tried to get me drunk too, but I usually limited myself to 1 glass. By Friday, the 6th day of our stay at the lodge, the project was ready. I didn't tell Evan this, but I noticed that he was acting particularly strange. He insisted that I was tense and suggested a neck massage and a glass of red wine. The massage was really good, but his insistence on wine made me wary. "Evan, please bring some more firewood while it's still light." "I'll finish the wine and make the final edits while you're busy," I said with a smile. "Okay," he answered with a mysterious smile. "Just don't forget to finish your drink." Then he put on his coat, boots, and gloves and went outside. I knew what kind of firewood was available and that he would be chopping it for at least half an hour. So first I checked Alex's phone and the cameras in my house. I almost threw up and literally freaked out when I saw the footage from the camera in the master bedroom. After making sure the video was copied to my hard drive, I began rummaging through Evan's things while wearing gloves. I found a video camera, a tripod, and a bottle of some kind of chemical. Having removed the cap, I smelled the contents of the bottle and roughly understood what it was. There were other interesting things there, but the sound of the wood splitting stopped stopping me from exploring his little collection of gifts any further. I poured out the remaining red wine, hid one of the syringes my veterinarian friend had given me in the cot, and lay down to wait for Evan to return. When I heard the door open a few seconds later, I pretended I was babbling incoherently and passed out. I heard him chuckle as he walked over to me and rolled me onto my back. I rolled my eyes and, making my voice as distracted as possible, muttered, "Hey, Evan. Oh, damn. I feel so weird. You're so cute." I didn't know exactly what the girl sounded like under the influence of the drug, but given his appearance, I hoped that he had never used this substance before and did not know exactly how they behave. I realized that I was playing my role well. Evan chuckled, squeezed one of my breasts, and said, "Well, Melissa, it's time to have some fun." Still making muffled noises and incoherent comments, I watched out of the corner of my eye as Evan set up the camera on a tripod, pointing it at the bed. When he picked me up and carried me onto the double bed, I held the syringe in my hand so that he would not notice it. As soon as he took off my sweater and began to unbutton his jeans, I plunged the syringe into his left thigh and completely injected the contents. Evan screamed in pain. "What the hell?" I immediately kicked him in the chest, knocking him to the floor. He pulled the syringe from his thigh and groaned. A veterinarian friend said that for a man weighing about 180 pounds, it would take less than a minute for the drug to take effect. I stood on his chest as he grew weaker, and less than 90 seconds passed before he went completely limp. As Evan became motionless, I noticed a significant lump in his groin area, which startled me. Obviously, I turned him on. Shrugging, I continued rummaging through his things. I found several other interesting items, including 2 pairs of handcuffs, a document signed by Jenny promising $30,000 for services rendered at the lodge, and, most strangely, 2 documents containing STD test results. One was in my name, one was in Evan's name, both with a 99% chance of no STD rating. They were dated about 6 weeks earlier, at a time when the entire management team was undergoing a corporate physical for a new insurance program during which our blood was drawn. The only thing that kept me from being furious was my pride in my foresight. I checked the HD camera in the bedroom of my house one last time. Alex and Jenny were still in the midst of the action, and then turned my attention to Evan. Although I only weigh 136 pounds, I am strong because I lift weights 2 to 3 times a week in our home gym and once a week with a trainer. After about 5 minutes of huffing and struggling, I was able to lay Evan's limp body on the bed, positioning his head against the steel headboard and cuff his hands. Luckily, he took off his heavy boots as soon as he entered the house, so all I had to do was remove his pants and underwear. "Damn it!" I gasped, covering my mouth with my hand. What I saw surprised me. His body turned out to be much more impressive than I expected. His physical form was surprisingly impeccable, and I couldn't help but notice it to myself. Despite all of Evan's character flaws, his appearance was truly impressive. Uninvited thoughts flashed through my head, but I quickly tried to focus on the main thing. I checked the computer connected to the camera in my bedroom. The screen showed Alex and Jenny spending time together without trying to hide their closeness. Sighing, I took the bottle of antidote that my veterinarian friend had given me, filled the syringe I had previously used for the sleep drug, and injected the antidote into Evan. He came to his senses after about a minute and a half. "Why am I chained to the bed without pants?" he asked with irritation. "Because you tried to drug me with a substance, and then I decided to see what instrument you were going to use to have sex with me." "Oh," he just breathed out. "So, Evan, we have 2 options. Either you tell everything and I set you free, maybe even give you a little pleasure, or you don't cooperate and I leave you here for 3 days. They'll send someone to get you, but you'll probably end up lying in your own excrement, and it'll get cold in here once the fire in the stove goes out. What do you choose?" "I think I might want to cooperate," he muttered. "Excellent choice. Now I'll tell you what I think, and you correct me if I'm wrong, okay?" I asked with a rhetorical intonation. "Ah, okay," he replied. "My husband Alex and Jenny have been having sex for a long time. We actually moved here after he met that bitch again at their school reunion, so they could be closer to each other. They wanted leverage for custody of the children when Alex divorced me. To do this, they paid you to have sex with me in this house, with the help of a drug if necessary, and filmed it on video. They especially wanted you to do it without a condom, so apparently when we had our company physical, we signed some kind of paper authorizing an STD test. Right so far?" "Damn, did you understand all this?" Evan asked, clearly stunned. "Yes. So I'm guessing you haven't had sex with anyone since then without a condom." "I didn't," he quickly answered. "And I'm guessing that Jenny and my husband Alex were tested and clean too." "Yes, although she didn't say it directly. Jenny thinks I'm dumber than I am, and so do you, and from what she said, I figured she and Alex didn't want to use condoms. Moreover, from snippets of telephone conversations and one private conversation during dinner at her home, when they thought no one was listening, I suggested that she might want a child with Alex. It seems to me that she married that rag Byron just for the startup capital for the multiplex, and now she's going to get rid of him, Evan replied, clearly pleased with the opportunity to show that he was not as stupid as they thought him. But why did you still risk doing this? I asked thoughtfully out loud. I didn't think I would have to. No woman has ever refused me, especially when the two of us are in the same hut. Ruffian was just a backup, something I'd never used before. But even if I had to, I was ready because, to be honest, I really like you, your appearance and character. I wanted you from the moment we met. I smiled, looking at him, and felt some elusive spark arise between us. Well, how do you want to spend this evening? I asked with a playful smile, wanting to relieve the tension and move on to a lighter atmosphere. He smiled back and added, I would really like that. I went to the stove, put a few logs there, and made sure that only soft and warm light remained in the room. Then she began to slowly undress, feeling how the tension was replaced by the expectation of something new and pleasant. Evan watched me with interest, and I allowed myself to relax and enjoy the moment. We both knew that this evening would be special and were ready to spend it together, enjoying each other's closeness and support. Several minutes passed before I felt like we were finally completely connected. We began to move in unison, enjoying every second of intimacy. His hands, handcuffed to the bed, limited movement but did not interfere with our rhythm. I was losing control of myself, feeling incredibly close, and clenched my muscles, which caused a strong reaction in him. After these intense sensations, I collapsed on his chest, feeling calm return to us. We lay next to each other, enjoying the moment. He licked his lips and looked at me with a smile. What was that? You're incredible, he said, with admiration in his voice. Just a little secret, I replied, smiling. Well, I'd like some more, he grinned. Why are you still not losing interest? I teased. It seems to have an effect on you, he replied, laughing. We continued enjoying our time together. After a few minutes, I applied the same secret again, and his reaction was so strong that I passed out for a moment, feeling the tension drain out of both of us. When I returned to reality, we were just lying next to each other, sharing warm moments. I slowly got up to clean myself up a little and lay down next to him, wrapping the sheet around us both. It was more than just physical intimacy, it was a moment of true unity and understanding. Is it the best thing ever, or should I try again? I whispered in his ear. The best without a doubt. And please don't try again anytime soon. I think my spine has been removed. You know, when I start divorce proceedings from my husband, I will need regular sex to get through this. Would you like to apply for this position? Does Dolly Parton sleep on her back? He laughed. Damn it, of course. I have a proposal for you that will make us both a lot of money and allow us to have sex regularly. Are you listening? Of course, he chuckled. Since I didn't fully trust Evan yet, I only freed one of his hands and used the handcuffs to cuff one of his ankles to the bed frame after he swung one leg off it. Then, holding the second sedative syringe where he could see it, I freed his other hand and cuffed his other ankle to the bed frame. He covered his privates with a blanket and looked like he was just sitting on the bed, fully clothed, as he spoke. I recorded his words on both video and audio. He told me everything he knew, including the plan to drug me and film it so Alex could use it as leverage in divorcing me for Jenny, and Jenny planning to divorce Byron. Wearing gloves, he carefully picked up the camera and vial of substance that Jenny had handed him. Both items will have her fingerprints and DNA on them, he stated calmly. Are you under duress, or are you saying this voluntarily? I asked him. Completely voluntary. My conscience did not allow me to do this. Will you tell Jenny something different when we get back? Yes, I will say, but only to lull her into a false sense of security. I'll tell her I had sex with you, even though I couldn't write it down, and when she tries to use it in court, I'll tell the truth. After I sent the video of his statement to my lawyer, I, still naked, walked up to Evan and said, Can I trust you now? You can trust me on two things. Stick to what I said in the video and have sex with you again once I stop a little, he chuckled. Good answer, I said, but I need to take one more precaution. I put the camera, tripod, bottle with Jenny's prints, STD tests, and the remaining syringe with the sleeping agent in a plastic bag, put on warm clothes, and went outside. I hid the package under a pile of snow where Evan would never find it. Then she trampled the snow around to leave marks and give the impression that she had gone further than she actually had, and smoothed out the place where she had hidden the package. Returning to the house, I said, "Do you want me to cook something?" After great sex, I was terribly hungry. "Of course, only if we cook and eat naked. I really like looking at your body. Add 2 more logs to the stove to keep it warm, and we'll agree," I smiled. I have to say that bacon pancakes have never tasted so good, and neither has red wine. Evan and I had a lot of skin-to-skin contact while cooking and eating. Outside of the work environment, and now even after we became close, he turned out to be witty and charming. Although, perhaps my opinion was influenced by the euphoria of the best sex of my life. After we put the dishes away, I showed him my completed work, at least half of it, since I still didn't trust him 100%. I promised to share with him some of the $80,000 bonus I was going to receive before striking out at Alex and Jenny. He was impressed and even suggested 2 small improvements. "So you're not just a pretty face and plus size," I giggled as I made changes to the document. "No, but all I see in you are gorgeous breasts, which, by the way, I haven't tried yet," he laughed, picking me up in his arms and carrying me to the bed while I fake screamed and lightly slapped him, calling him a brute. But I could no longer pretend as soon as he put me on my knees on the bed and started having sex with me. I planned to return home early as soon as I finished the project. I really missed the children. However, the sex with Evan was so good that I stayed until Sunday, still arriving home a day early. Evan didn't try to break his promise or look for my evidence bag. Evan spent the whole weekend with me, and they were incredible moments, full of closeness and warmth. He was very attentive and took tender care of me. In the moments of our intimacy, he drew attention to the bandage, and I said that I had a slight injury. We both enjoyed our time together, finding joy in every minute and every touch. Evan and I clarified exactly how we would proceed when we returned. When I got home on Sunday afternoon, I showered the kids with kisses and hugs. I couldn't be as warm with Alex, although I didn't want him to suspect anything. I told him that I suspected I had thrush. "Alex, I know this is offensive, and I have no reason to suspect you. But I have to ask, did you by any chance cheat on me? I can't figure out where I got this thrush." "Of course not. How could you ask that?" he answered indignantly. "Sorry, but I had to ask. I think I'd better sleep in the guest room." "Not necessarily. We can have another type of sex," he said, quickly forgetting his indignation. Of course, I was never going to sleep with Alex again after what he did. I refused. "Sorry, I really don't feel well. I'll go see the doctor, but just in case it's something else, I don't want you to catch it," I replied. Of course, I didn't want him to see the marks on my chest that were still there. I met with Jenny on Monday, gave her a full report on the project, and told her that, according to our contract, I wanted $80,000 by Friday. She looked both surprised and pleased as she looked at my report. "I'll check it out some more and show it to an expert, but it looks impressive," she enthused. Evan also met with her and secretly recorded their conversation. "I couldn't drug her like you suggested, or film her, or sleep with her at all," he complained. "However, I can still testify that I did it if you pay me the $30,000 you promised." "It's not enough," she squealed. "How are you going to testify if you haven't even seen her naked? You said her only distinguishing feature was the rose tattoo on her butt, the photo of which you showed me from Alex. That knowledge, plus what her breasts and hips look like based on the other photos Alex gave you, should be enough." "Okay, but you'll only get your money after you testify," Jenny snorted. "No, our deal is $15,000 before, $15,000 after. Give me $15,000 or I won't testify," Evan said. Evan said Jenny looked pissed off, and it showed on the tape, but she gave in and wrote him a check, supposedly as a bonus for completing the project. My lawyer prepared all the necessary paperwork within a week, and I was able to avoid spending the night with Alex until the following weekend, although he seemed to be starting to get suspicious. I relieved the tension by meeting Evan at the hotel twice at lunchtime. I received my $80,000 bonus on Friday and cashed the check immediately. We had a wonderful weekend with the kids. It was our last fun weekend as a family, so I tried to be nice to Alex. The kids loved it. Evan told me that Alex is going to file for divorce on Wednesday. I got ahead of him. On Monday, I filed for divorce from Alex and a claim for fraud, as well as Jenny personally and Multiplex for fraud. According to the ticking time bomb clause in my contract, this entitled me to damages. They all received summonses on the same day. Alex was furious when he got home on Monday night and called me a prostitute for sleeping with Evan at the cabin. But I didn't sleep, dear. However, I have proof that you and that bitch Jenny, your high school sweetheart, who you lost your virginity to, had sex while I was gone, including at our house, I said. Evan will testify that he slept with you, Alex snorted. So he's going to lie, right? I was indignant. People will believe him, bitch. Remove that smug grin or I'll wipe it off your face, he growled. This is exactly what I was waiting for and why I secretly recorded our conversation. I pressed a button on the phone. The doorbell rang. I opened it. Two private detectives stood on the threshold, a woman who witnessed my tattoos, and a large man, both armed. Alex, I'm taking the kids to a hotel for the weekend. I'm getting a restraining order on Monday because of your threat of physical violence. These detectives are here to make sure you don't follow through on your threat until I get an injunction, I said happily. He cursed furiously and even rushed at me. The male detective hit him with his forearm, knocking him back. Alex stayed put as the female detective pulled out a gun. Of course, thanks to the audio recording and the testimony of a private investigator, I was able to easily obtain a protective order on Monday, and the sheriff escorted him and his belongings out of the house that same night. Jenny compounded her problems by firing me that same day, but thanks to my savings and my $80,000 bonus, I was in no financial trouble. Alex, foolishly, countersued for divorce on Wednesday, accusing me of cheating, just like Evan had told me. My lawyer immediately scheduled Evan's interrogation for the following Tuesday, an incredible speed for a trial. But since Alex's lawyer, for some reason, did not object, the interrogation took place. This interrogation, which was attended by Alex and Jenny, in addition to me and the lawyers, was terribly funny. Alex and Jenny's lawyer, John Tipton, had been preparing Evan for questioning the previous afternoon. I cooked Evan the night before. Below is the relevant portion of the interrogation transcript. TW, my lawyer, Trinity Watson. Mr. Bonson, did you ever have sexual relations with Melissa Carthage? Evan Bonson. Yes. TW. When? About 2 or 3 weeks ago, in a cabin in the woods where we were sent by our employer to work on a secret project. TW. Was that the only time you had sex with her? Yes, although she has tried to flirt with me before. TW. Just answer the questions, please, Mr. Bonson, without going into detail. How many times did you have sex with her in that house in the woods 2 or 3 weeks ago? I didn't count, at least a dozen times. TW. What kind of sex was it? All types of sex. Is it possible to put it that way during an interrogation? TW. Did you see her naked at that time? Of course we were completely naked every time we had sex. TW. Did you drug her or force her into sex in any way? Hell no. She literally lunged at me like a dog in heat. TW. Did you see all the parts of her naked body? Witness laughs. Yes, except perhaps the soles of her feet and the skin under the hair on her head. I not only saw, but also examined, spanked, massaged, fingered, or otherwise processed every part of her naked body. TW. So you saw her naked buttocks? Yes, she has a very nice ass. I massaged and spanked every part of it. TW. Have you seen her naked breasts? Oh, yes, I've kissed both breasts many times, and we've had more than a couple of times where I... TW. Excuse me, what word would you like to use? Eb. Sexual intercourse. TW. Yeah, okay. We've had it more than a couple times. TW. And of course, you saw her private part? Eb. Oh, yes. TW. So, how much time would you say you spent closely examining, touching, or touching her naked body in any way? Eb. Hours, minimum 30 hours, possibly more. TW. Did this happen with sufficient lighting or not? Eb. Most of it happened with enough light. During the day, the light streamed through the windows of the house, and at night, while we made love, she liked to have the light on so she could see my size. TW. During these 30 hours, when you saw her naked up close, did you notice any distinctive marks? Could it be a tattoo, a birthmark, a mole, a bandage, something like that? Eb. She has a tattoo of a rose on her right buttock, about this size. Witness shows about 2 inches between fingers. TW. Anything else? Other tattoos, moles, scars, bandages, something else? Eb. No, except maybe teeth marks or marks that I might have left. The witness laughs. TW. Mr. Bonson, I want to show you photographs and affidavits from a tattoo artist and a private investigator dated 3 days before Melissa Carthage arrived at the cottage. These documents indicate that Miss Carthage has a tattoo of a dolphin on the inside of her left breast. The witness examines the documents. Eb. Can we take a break? JT. Yeah, let's take a break. I want to look at these documents. TW. I've already given you your copy, lawyer, and we won't take a break. I'm going to call the judge's office right now. I have his number on speed dial to get a ruling on whether a third party questioning a witness has the right to interrupt him during an important part of the questioning in order to change his testimony. JT. I protest. TW. Protest as much as you want should you call me. There is a pause while the others in the room deliberate without a witness. JT. Okay, we will continue, but this will be on the record, preserving my right to request the exclusion of the following testimony. Attorney Watson laughs. TW. Well, how do you explain the dolphin tattoo, Mr. Bonson? Eb. This photo was probably doctored, and the claims are lies. TW. Miss Carthage, please stand and show the inside of your left breast. JT. I protest. Eb. What's wrong, Mr. Tipton? Never seen a woman's breasts. Miss Carthage stands up and exposes her left breast, which reveals a dolphin tattoo. TW. So, Mr. Bonson, when you were kissing Miss Carthage's left breast and moving between her breasts, did you see the dolphin tattoo? Eb. Illegible. TW. We can't hear you, Mr. Bonson. Eb. No, I haven't seen her. TW. Mr. Bonson, here is further documentation indicating that the same tattoo artist, observed by the same private investigator, affixed a flesh-colored patch over the rose tattoo on Miss Carthage's right buttock to make it invisible, and that this patch can only be removed a special technique known only to the tattoo artist, but not to Miss Carthage. The plaster also bears the master's initials. Have you seen that patch covering the rose tattoo on my right buttock? The witness examines the documents. TW. We are waiting, Mr. Bonson. Eb. No, I didn't see the patch. TW. Would you like to see the patch, Mr. Bonson? The witness nods. Miss Carthage stands up and shows her right buttock, which shows a flesh-colored patch with initials on it, but no rose tattoo. TW. Since you swore to tell the truth at the beginning of this interrogation, and I made it clear that the truth is of the utmost importance, are you aware that you can be charged with perjury? JT. I protest. You cannot threaten a witness. TW. I'm just warning him of possible criminal consequences. Eb. Look, I didn't want to do this. If I tell the truth, will you forget about perjury? JT. I protest and demand to speak to the witness. TW. This is not your client. He is supposedly an independent witness. You don't have that right. Please, Mr. Bonson, tell the truth. Eb. I, I, uh, I agreed to testify that I had sex with Melissa because Jenny Krieg offered me $30,000 to do it, including providing me with a sex drug and a camera for filming. Miss Krieg, you lying piece of shit. TW. Miss Krieg, sit down and shut up immediately, or I will ask the guard who just came in here because of your outcry to take you out. Miss Krieg sits down and the guard leaves. TW. How did you know that Melissa Carthage has a rose tattoo on her right buttock? Eb. Because Jenny Krieg showed me nude photos of her that she received from Melissa's husband, Alex Carthage. They showed both this tattoo and her completely naked body. TW. Have you ever used a sex drug or a movie camera? Eb. I probably would have done it to get $30,000, but when I was about to do it, I found out it wasn't there. I assumed that Melissa Carthage had taken them, although I did not ask her about this and did not find them even after searching the house and surrounding area. I believe she took them to find out whose DNA and/or fingerprints were on them, especially on the drug vial. TW. Do you have proof of the $30,000 payment? Eb. Jenny Krieg has already paid me $15,000, which will appear on my bank statements, and she will have on record a check from Multiplex for that amount signed by her. I also have a short, vague document signed by her in which she promises me $30,000. TW. I'd like to look at these documents when you have a chance. Eb. Okay. TW. No more questions. Mr. Tipton, your witness. JT. I have no questions at this time, but I reiterate my objections to all the shenanigans that have occurred here today, and I am going to petition the court to have his testimony thrown out. TW. Good luck. The interrogation is over. I couldn't believe how brilliantly Evan handled the interrogation. Not only did he strictly adhere to our plan, but he also added details that worked to our advantage. His facial expressions and manner gave great persuasiveness to his words. My opinion of him improved every day. Not only was he the best lover of my life by a huge margin, but he also turned out to be much smarter than I thought, and an incredible actor too. Wow. When the children were fast asleep the night after the interrogation, I sneaked Evan into the house, and he enjoyed me as much as he wanted. Without any hesitation, I fulfilled his every desire. The next day I was broken and still in pain, but I smiled all the time, and Jill kept asking, Mom, why are you smiling all the time? After interrogating Evan, and after I gave John Tipton the audio and video recordings I made of Alex and Jenny, and after Trinity threatened criminal charges for attempted assault and fraud, and also said that she would provide all of this Jenny's husband, Byron, who may finally get his act together after seeing the evidence and withdraw his money from Multiplex matters, quickly settled down. The agreement provided that all claims of the parties against each other would be waived with prejudice. I received $2 million after taxes, gave Evan $400,000 for wrongful termination, received sole custody of the children and home, and $1,000 a month in child support. Because Alex, despite being a cheater and a terrible person, was a good father, I gave him a generous schedule of visits with the children. I added as a bonus that his parents get to see the kids a lot too, since I liked them and were great grandparents. They were very grateful. However, I indicated that if I wanted to move to another state, I had every right to do so, and Alex and his parents would have to decide for themselves how to see the children. In fact, Jenny, as far as I understand, did not come out of this situation so badly. 2 years after the settlement, Multiplex made $5 million on a new service for which I prepared a report and plan, which Jenny executed to the letter. She and Alex are said to still sleep with each other regularly. She is still married to Byron, who apparently has no idea what happened or that his wife has sex with Alex several times a week. As for me, I am served 4 or 5 times a week by the best man I have ever seen or even dreamed of. I don't know what the reason is. Maybe it's the way my private muscles interact with Evan's large size, but he's just crazy about me. I never thought that I would be able to control such a handsome man with the appearance of a movie star, who I like more and more, who is easy to live with, only thanks to his body, but it is so. The only thing that kept me from agreeing to Evan's constant proposals to marry him was skepticism that such a handsome man with such a body would one day cheat. Evan was recently offered a good job in the city where my parents and brother live, and he's begging me to move there too. Of course, my parents, brother, and his family also insist. I'm starting to like this idea more and more, and to assuage my last doubts, Evan offered me a prenuptial agreement in which he would receive nothing if he cheated in the marriage. With such an agreement, it seems to me that hearing the wedding bells for the third time won't be long. Subscribe to our channel so that your love doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think. Click to the next one. Click to the next one. Click to the next one.